guys, welcome back to another episode of Ramen Rants. It's been a while since I've done one of these. This is my ramen today. I accidentally poured out too much of the soup, so it's a little dry today, but I've recently started really liking soft-boiled eggs rather than hard-boiled eggs. I always eat the eggs first. They're just so good, and look how gooey it's good. It's beautiful. A couple months ago I read this book called If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. It kind of opened my eyes to seeing how beauty standards, especially beauty expectations for women, hold a deeper meaning than what I thought. It is still superficial. To me, it was a reminder that you can't really judge vanity from the aspect that in this book, the characters undergo plastic surgery and they go to great lengths to be pretty because of monetary reasons, because if they are prettier, they're going to earn more money and they're going to get the job that they want. It kind of shows how beauty is an asset, especially now with social media. Being pretty now can take you farther. As someone who's Asian American, you have these East Asian influences, pale skin, double eyelids, and then you have our Western beauty standards that you get here in America, tan, more curvy body shape. In some ways that was kind of helpful for me because I knew that I wouldn't really be able to fit into either. Being white is definitely the beauty standard in the US, and obviously I'm not that. I knew I wouldn't fit into East Asian beauty standards either, and that felt kind of liberating because I knew that it was kind of an unachievable goal. Not that I don't try to fit into some of them, but I knew that it was impossible to achieve any of it, so I never really stressed trying to. I think being interested in history also helped that because you can see how what's considered pretty changes. It used to be popular to pluck your hairline. Just shows you how beauty is truly subjective. I think that's why my approach to trying to be pretty, because I'm not saying that I don't try, because I do, and I think everyone at some level does. When I do try to focus on that, I try to keep it pretty natural, because I feel if I strive too far away from what's natural to my face or my features to try to chase after these expectations, then I'm gonna look really bad. So that's why I just don't try to stray that much farther from my natural face. Also, I suck at makeup, so it's not I could really change it that much, even if I wanted to, because K-dramas and K-pop and Korean culture itself has become a lot more prominent in Western media and Western culture now. I definitely think that I've started leaning more towards their standards of beauty, maybe more in their makeup style. Different East Asian countries have different social standings according to the US. I remember back in middle school that Japan was the country with the most influence over Western media out of those 3 East Asian countries, with certain exports like anime, sushi, those became super popular. That's when I started to realize a lot of what is deemed popular from other countries, it was very dependent on their exports and their economic status. Beginning of high school, Korean culture started to really grow, and I think it grew a lot more in the West than people ever thought. And in the US, you can just look at the different prices of food from these different countries. There are some really expensive sushi places. Nowadays, there's a lot of more really expensive Korean barbecue places, but I still have yet to go to a really expensive Chinese restaurant, and I think that's because Chinese food is still considered cheap and fast and easy. I mean, Chinese takeout, is probably one of the more popular forms to eat Chinese food. The food in that country is going to get more expensive as the general public's opinion of that country grows. As someone who's Chinese American, definitely feels you're not as popular. That sounds terrible, but your ethnicity just isn't as popular in mainstream media. I feel right now I can't really think of any major cultural Chinese exports like K-dramas or anime or K-pop, and people don't really want to travel to China as much as they do to Japan and South Korea. Even honestly, I don't really want to travel to China as much as the other two. I don't know if that's bad or not, but it definitely starts to create a sort of hierarchy. Growing up, I've always been pretty neutral about being Chinese. It wasn't anything that I disliked. I never wanted to be white. I know that's a very common experience for people of color. And it was really sad just because I couldn't be fully confident in their own ethnicity and their own skin. And I mean, it makes sense why that would happen, because just look on TV, just look at everything around you, especially if you're a girl and everything that's considered pretty is white. So of course that's like kind of what you'd want to be, you know? I'm thankful that I never really experienced that. I didn't really get bullied at all, thankfully. I wasn't really picked on at all. As I've gotten older though, especially with like the Asian hate crimes that happened this year and this past year, it's definitely made me more defensive about being Asian American. Regarding cultural appropriation or anything that I feel any kind of form of like discrimination, I feel a lot more angry about it now than I ever did, and definitely a lot more defensive about it now because there's more of a sense of like needing to protect your community more. Going back to the beauty standard conversation, glow up culture is very toxic. Feeling comfortable, feeling confident in your own skin and feeling like pretty yourself, it kind of makes that unattainable. It's saying that you can always glow up, you can always look better, and that how you are now is never enough. It's never going to satisfy other people, it's never going to satisfy yourself. Watching like glow up videos is kind of addicting because it's like, whoa, like look at what they did, like I can do that. I think it's reaching a point where even if you're in like the best shape of your life, your skin's perfect, your hair looks good, blah 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 blah, whatever, it's still not gonna be good enough. And I think that's why people start resorting to plastic surgery. And even after plastic surgery, it's like, are you like pretty enough then? Like, are you good enough then? And the thing is that that hunger to always look better is never going to go away. But that's pretty much the end for today's episode of Ramen Rants. It had been a while since I've done one of these, so I kind of forgot what I was supposed to do because these are pretty much unscripted. I literally maybe bullet down a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. It was definitely interesting just coming onto the camera and just blabbering. Thanks guys for listening, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!